I'm excited tonight. First of all, what the fuck did we just see? You know, it reminds me of Larry Merchant when he was calling the Tyson Buster Douglas fight, and he said the people came out to see Godzilla, but the wrong person turned out to be Godzilla, in which, Buster Douglas was laying a severe smackdown on Tyson, and you can just see how the fight was going. That, Buster Douglas had the right game plan, he had the right conditioning, he had the right spirit and mindset, and he went out there as a 42-1 underdog and beat the guy who a lot of folks was saying was invincible at the time. Man, boxing is the theater of the unexpected. and I think Larry Merchant said that as well. I'm out here working injured folks, broke hand, so I got to figure out a way to hold the camera, my cigar, and a joint from time to time while drinking the Mickeys. So, tonight is not going to be a night for any serious intellect. And the motivation is just find your happy place. Boxing is my happy place. It has been that for years, right? And every now and then, boxing comes up with a surprise for Mr. Boxing's best judge. So, first of all, I want to say before I get into the fight, I want to get into the fighters individually and give them their roses right now. First of all, let's talk about Jermaine Ortiz. Now, I watched this guy fight for the very first time. What's tonight? Saturday? I think it was, Wednesday night, I think I watched him for the very first time. I saw his last fight, which is pretty much customary, for me. When I want to, when it's time for a big fight, I want to see what they did the last time they got in the ring. And the reason is, a lot of times, depending on how much time has passed between that last fight and the fight that they're currently getting ready for, a lot of times you can see certain tendencies and habits that you just can't break in one fight. And sometimes it just is the way a fighter is. For instance, sometimes a boxer, when he gets on his toes and he's out dancing around the perimeter and sticking the jab, a lot of times boxers have a tendency to drop their left hand, or if they're southpaw, they'll drop their right hand, after a jab. All boxers have this tendency. All boxer punchers have this tendency, I should say. Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, Roy Jones, Floyd Mayweather, when he did use the jab, he actually kept his jab up on the line for the most part, but he wasn't a primary. One of his primary punches was not a jab. He was so good that his jab was basically his straight right hand, which was clever for him as a smaller guy moving up in weight to the welterweight division from 130. He probably figured that it would be better that his speed would give him the advantage of capitalizing on a straight left hand, which would have a straight right hand, which would have more power than a jab. But getting back to what we saw tonight with Jermaine, I saw this guy fight, and he looked decent. Like, I didn't see anything that really jumped off the page outside of the fact that he was actually different. He just had a different kind of style. So if you're keeping track, that's 1 point. I'm drinking and smoking, so I might lose track. Let me know in the comments. But, you know, he can move pretty well. He can go southpaw, orthodox. He could throw a lot of punches, or he can be the counterpuncher. He can come forward. He's a little bit mean in there. This is my assessment after just one fight, which was his last fight. And do I say too much? Anyway. So he put on a pretty good performance, and I noticed two things. I noticed that it seemed as though he always had command of the fight, although Herring was putting up a good fight early. But the longer the fight went, I think it could be a combination of age with Herring, because he was 36. And he had been in some ring wars in his time. So he's at the tail end of his career. And you got this young whippersnapper who's trying to go from being the prospect to the contender, so he can put himself in a position to earn a opportunity to possibly change his life monetarily. So you have this young kid, and he fights a very good fight against an old veteran and wins. I saw also a fighter, a young fighter, inexperienced fighter, who can have a shaky defense, didn't know if he could take a big punch. And yes, he can outperform an older fighter who's at the end of his rope. But when he gets in there with somebody his age, or somebody who's on a different level as far as conditioning, what is he going to do? How is he going to deal with that? So these are questions that I had about Jermaine. And, you know, I saw quite a few fights tonight. ESPN Plus, they had a real good card tonight. I was exposed to some fighters that I hadn't seen before. And I'm gonna bring this up at a later time. But let's just say, you know, the young folks, there's a lot of talent, but I need to see more folks taking this a little bit more seriously, because somebody's going to get hurt, and you don't play boxing like you play basketball or football. So I'm going to just get off my soapbox right there. But what I noticed about the young man, Jermaine, is that during the course of the fight, like I said, defense, a little bit shaky. I didn't know what type of stamina this guy would have. Tonight, I didn't see a totally different fighter, but I saw a better disciplined fighter. And Jermaine did his thing. He shocked the hell out of me. He won the first 4 rounds. You could even argue that he won the first 5 rounds. And it wasn't that he had the bigger punches, because it seemed like almost every time Lomachenko landed a good shot, you can significantly see the effects that the shots were having. His blows were just bigger, thudding blows. But Jermaine was landing more. And when Jermaine fought in a stance where he was clearly using his height as an advantage, Lomachenko really didn't have a lot to do with that. You know, to me, it looked like Lomachenko was in there with a welterweight, and I'm going to discuss that at another time. But what I really want everybody to understand is how impressed I was with Jermaine. Because I said before the fight, if you checked into my commentary, I said that it's going to come down to what his mindset is. Is he going to be ready for the big stage? Is he going to wilt under the pressure? If he starts hitting Lomachenko, if he starts hitting Lomachenko and nothing happened, what is that going to do to his ego? You know, Lomachenko is a pressure fighter, and he comes in from different angles. Over a 12-round period, that can be utterly exhausting for somebody to have to deal with. Is this kid going to be able to deal with that? He won the first 4 rounds, arguably 5. He started to fade, and around the 6th or 7th round, I said, you know what? I think this is it for the kid. He put up an incredible fight, and I'm just thoroughly impressed with this kid. But Lomachenko is about to unleash some severe beatdown. And he did. He unleashed a merciless beatdown where I was just so impressed that Ortiz stood his ground and fought back. And there were times where I don't even think he was knowing exactly what he was doing, because he's not that experienced of a fighter. He's just a kid, 26, 27 years old. Somehow, at certain points during the course of the fight, he just simply fought big. He fought tall. He fought like he was the bigger man, which bought him time, which made Lomachenko have to think a little bit before coming in, because he didn't want to get hit with something that he didn't see coming from some weird angle. Because, you know, when they're in the clinch, or when they're in a fight mode, when they're close to each other, they're the same height, because Ortiz has to bend down. But if Ortiz wanted to just sit back and stick and sit behind the jab, there would be really nothing that Lomachenko could do. That's how much bigger this guy was than Lomachenko. My man looked death in the face because Lomachenko was coming for the kill. And he started to fade, and then all of a sudden, it was almost like the Undertaker. And next thing you know, he's got a little bit more energy to get through these rounds, which I was almost sure Lomachenko was going to stop this guy, because not only was he getting tired, he started taking big punches, and you started to see it in his face. His eyes started swelling up. He had a black eye. This guy he was taking a lot of punishment, and he was fighting back, but it just didn't have the pop and the severity and the mean intentions and the power that Lomachenko has. I'm gonna give Ortiz an A fucking plus for tonight, because that motherfucker did his thing on the biggest stage in Madison Square Garden and came out against one of the most incredible monsters of the last 15 years and fought that motherfucker toe to toe like a straight up G. So I got so much love and respect for Jermaine Ortiz. And man, the silly Lomachenko. What can we say about this guy? We need to stop the hate. If there's any hate on Lomachenko, it's just because you don't really have nothing better to do with your life. Because ever since this guy was a lightweight, he's been undersized. And he has constantly fought the top fighters in his weight class. He has never fought I don't know what we would call a cream pie or a cupcake in this man's career. Right now he's 17-2. And don't let those 2 losses, like, come on, man. Let's just keep it real. A guy with 396 wins in the amateurs, with only 1 loss, with 2 gold medals. He comes back and within 5 professional fights is a champion. Stop playing. Y'all need to put some respect on Lomachenko's name. Stop acting like this motherfucker is not an all-time great from a talent aspect. The footwork is impeccable. The combinations from different angles is in complete disorder for any goddamn body to have to deal with. Like this motherfucker is cancer, diabetes, and AIDS all in one motherfucker. Come on, man. Put some respect on this dude's name. Okay, Nicholas Walters, he was the baddest motherfucker. Put him in there with Loma. Loma made this motherfucker quit. Rigondeaux, 2 gold medals too. Too small though. That motherfucker quit too. A motherfucker with 2 gold medals done quit in a fight. He has 2 gold medals. Do you know how many motherfuckers that you have to fight to get 2 gold medals? That means you go from 1 Olympics, 4 years, and then another Olympics. And then you got world championships. Then you got tournaments in your country. You might even have local or state type tournaments. I mean, you fighting everybody, every style. Rigondeaux know what the fuck he was fighting when he fought Lomachenko. But he sure did quit, didn't he? They was calling this motherfucker Lomachenko. Come on, man. Like he wasn't like making like tomato cans quit. He wasn't making prospects quit. He wasn't making contenders quit. He was making champions quit. like, what are we talking about with this guy? How come don't nobody see what the fuck I see when I'm looking at Lomachenko? Like, what the fuck? Are we not seeing the same dude? And this dude was off for 10 months at 34. And, you know, I saw the ring rust early. Like I said, I'm looking at this fight and I cannot believe what I'm fucking watching. I'm watching Lomachenko fight against this young kid out of nowhere, pretty much. And he's down 4 rounds to nothing. And I gave him the 5th round, but I could have gave it to the other guy. He didn't really start making a difference in the rounds until like round 7. And then this motherfucker started to steamroll. And it just seemed like he was just beating the devil out of this guy. But damn, Ortiz kept fighting back. But goddamn if Lomachenko didn't stop coming all night. All night. He said, hey kid, this is what's gonna happen to you all night. And you know, we just gotta give credit where credit is due. Because both of these fighters, they both deserve a ton of credit. And if I gave Jermaine Ortiz A++, I'm giving that to Lomachenko too. Because, I mean, this dude was actually fighting not only for himself tonight, not only for us boxing fans. We clearly see that he missed the sport. We clearly see that he missed being in front of us, entertaining us with his gifts and talents. We clearly see that this motherfucker has completely matched his gift with his purpose. And then with the whole thing going on in Ukraine and him seeing people die and fight and war, my man has to be commended for putting himself in a situation where he can give his people, if it's just 1 hour, to think about something other than the complete savagery that they're living through right now. So, you know, on the real, I got nothing but love for Lomachenko. Tonight was a great night for boxing. We ain't just gonna be sitting around here talking about Devin Haney and Ryan and Shakur and Tank. Although it is great that we talk about those 4 young men. There's somebody else on the block that got to be dealt with. I'm going to say that one more time. There's somebody on the block that needs to be dealt with. And this dude just went to master class tonight. He went to master class against the all-time great master boxer, killing machine. He did pretty damn good for himself. And I'm proud of this young man. So, as I sit back, relax, get faded, and just enjoy this night, I want everybody to go back and look at that fight. If you haven't seen it yet, I want you to go check it out. And then I want you to go and check out Lomachenko versus Salido, or Orlando Salido. I want you to go check out his fight with Gary Russell. I want you to go check out his fight with Nicholas Walters. I want you to go see what he did with Jorge Linares. I want you guys to go back and study, because I want you guys to understand the difference from just a good boxer who can go out and get belts. I want you to see the difference between that and a true to life prize fighter who uses his skill to impose his will to separate the opponent from their consciousness. The only reason why he didn't knock out Ortiz tonight is just because he ran out of time. Then that's just being real. If they fought 15 rounds, Ortiz would not last with Lomachenko. But I would have the same love and respect and admiration and just, oh my God, I hope he sees this so he can hear how proud I am of him for tonight. You did us all proud, my brother. Hey, and for Lomachenko, the killer, they putting you up in there with welterweights, my man. You're literally a super featherweight, 130 pounder. That's what you really are. Fighting motherfuckers that's walking in the ring at 140, 150 pounds, and they walking around at regular weight at 165 pounds. I commend you, my brother. They just don't want to give you your props. They don't want to give you your respect. They don't want to understand what the fuck you doing, but I see it. So if you see this, my brother, Vasily Lomachenko, the killer, oh my God. Hey, man, peace and love, man. I'm proud of you and what you're doing for your country. I want you to beat the fuck out of Devin Haney. That's what I want. I'm sending you to Devin Haney. Eat that motherfucker like Pac-Man eating the pellets back in the day, my brother.